Today is, let me go back to my journal. Hold on. I'm on page 111. I just finished um, 111. 7:24. I'm going to read all this to you. This is my walk to Ralph's before I had to sit and make the live that I did on the YouTube while I was outside of my apartment. Unexpected completely because I've spent like the last few days in my apartment working, not paying attention to all these kooky ass, weird ass motherfuckers around me. It's not so much stinky ass building. It feels like they moved the lab out because they're really getting ready to kill me. So let's do this. 7:24:26 at 22:16 p.m. What is that? 10:16. I walked to Ralph's with all of creepy LA and 3 kids on bikes who followed me up Western to Ralph's and proceeded to invade my personal space while all other addicts cut off my path every chance they got. The real gangsters will remain unidentified because they have more sense than to shit where they eat. I was going to leave the bike kids out of it, but they proved to be predatory and not out having fun. When I say the bike kids, the reason I noticed them, I'm pretty sure it was the bike kids, and I thought it was funny. Things I was thinking about is it doesn't look like they have any bike locks. One of the kids had a backpack. I said maybe he's got a bike lock, but nobody else has a bike lock. So I was surprised to see all 3 of them in the store because I thought, well, who's watching your bikes? Where's your bikes at while you're in the store walking around fucking with me? So maybe it was the bike kids, maybe it wasn't, and it's just like 3 different kids. But needless to say, it appeared to be the bike kids. And then they did, because they're underage, right? They appear to be like 18 or younger. They're least likely to get in trouble. This is how gangs use children to commit crimes for them. Witness intimidation is real, but none of the intimidators are anywhere near as creepy as my own blood brother. So I get excited when they try to make me flinch. It sends a rush of adrenaline through me. It makes me do skippity paps. I'm ready. So try fighting a 6 foot plus, I believe he's taller than 6 foot, psychopath on a daily, and you'll understand why I am unfazed. Fucktard. Oh, so when I sat down to write this, it was because I got tired of the people doing the following from the front. So I stopped to let the guy that was trying to walk with me continue walking because I wanted to walk alone. Right? Every step I took from the second I stepped out of my house, there was a person who was following me. Right? And I understand that it's hot outside. I don't have to keep making excuses for them as if this is something that is normal or could be real. My baseline of Hollywood is very accurate. I've lived here for long enough to know what normal activity is at 11 o'clock at night on a Friday. None of these people looked like they wanted to be outside, aside from the people who were at a function up the corner, who stayed far enough away from me not to have me include them in this. If anything, if they were part of the monitoring or the stalking, they were the smartest ones, highest IQ, and they made their participation appear as if it was just a party. So, fucktard in a red shirt with Adidas trying to intimidate me, but he's in the wrong neighborhood. So what I mean by this is I'm not even standing at the curb. I'm standing between the bus stop and the stoplight, right? So it's not like I'm waiting for I'm literally in the most awkward position on the side of the street, and I just pulled out my chair. I stopped to write in my journal so that it gave me time to put space between me and the person who I believe to be reporting my exact position so that the other stalkers could come and find me and make their way. So while I stopped to write this, after separating from one stalker, fucktard in a red shirt, it's a whole nother stalker, is standing there trying to intimidate me. But he doesn't realize that his whiteness very much reminds me of Oak Park, and he's not intimidating. So He had a big old B, like a Bentley B, on his backpack. I wonder what kind of drugs he has in there. He's in the wrong neighborhood. I say that because he's very much not brown. He's very stalker. YouTube on his profile to come, Mr. B Backpack. So that's exactly what this is. I'm letting you know. This one random ass guy that does not fit into this part of this city, he's not out here visiting a friend who lives here. He looked really awkward and out of place for my baseline on East Hollywood at almost midnight. I walk on the street at night because I know who to expect on the street. I know that closer we get to midnight, 1 a.m., is people that are getting released straight from prison that are going to show up on Sunset and Western. So I try to get to the store before midnight because I'd like to avoid those people. So along the way, there are some people who were not out of place, but then there were others who were very noticeable, like the girl with the blonde wig. That you just want to hover around me. You wait for me to go inside the store, come out the store. They have like territory. They're not allowed to go past a certain territory, which is why there's so many of them. So I get back to my apartment, 22:33 p.m. magic time. Isn't that a beautiful number? Guy standing at door of my apartment building, trafficking me, forced to wait outside while they think they are intimidating me. Short man in a red shirt, believe he was a Hispanic man, and I think he had a cart. The cart was outside with a piece of artwork in it. And as I approached the building, I couldn't see the man, but right as I got to the door, I saw his face pop up in it, and I said, no, I don't want to do this right now. I'm not fucking around with the front door and any of the drug addicts or the prostitutes or the people who were assigned to this building to harass me. So I pulled out my chair again at 22:33 p.m., and I started writing in my journal, just that little bit. And there's not going to be a crash out. It's going to be a series of well-written journal entries where I talk about all these people that I've linked now back to my brother and my sister being part of a crime ring. I don't know where the crime ring is centered. It's Oak Park, Ventura County crime ring. You guys are fucking weird-ass criminals. They're really big on the white-collar crimes. I'm waiting till October to discuss my experience at a law firm in particular named Weinstock Mannion. The reason I'm waiting until October to discuss my experience there is because this law firm is currently in the process of responding to a RICO complaint. I have to put this here because I now believe the connection between all of this is the LA Business Journal. The LA Business Journal presented an award to my sister. I believe it was October 19th, 2025, I think it was, right? That is just 1 week prior to my start date at Weinstock Mannion. So they moved me from one place where I was billing and I had no access to financial information, but they forced it upon me at Cox Castle. They forced an email communication in which a client's account manager or something had provided fraudulent bank wire transfer information to the client, and the client paid $30,000 to some fucking random ass bank account. Nobody knows what it is. That's one, right? And then after that job, I went to Weinstock Mannion and I accepted a temporary position, which I've never, ever, ever in my life done. But I needed a job because they have set a pattern of defaming my name, writing negative remarks in an employment file, because all of these people are involved in crime. When I think back to the lady, I was so happy to look her in her face as she was telling me how incompetent she thought I was and how they had magically worded things to confuse me and gaslight me in order to make me look like I don't understand shit. And one of her big things was, well, I'm going to write this in your employment profile. And my thought on that was whatever. But when I realized that if they murder me and you go and interview my former employers, you're going to get negative remarks about me. And it's absolutely not true. there are attorneys that I worked with, that I did good work with, that I don't believe are part of this. And if they are part of it, they're at least smart enough to keep their dealings with me honest. And the reason I don't think they're a part of it is because when people respond quickly to things, it's less likely that they are criminal. When people have to take an extra time to craft something, to secretly try to design, socially engineer incidents in which they can make you look criminal, that's when things are delayed. That's when attorneys don't return things by deadlines. That's when shit is not done correctly. So what I want to say, I want to recognize attorneys, because I don't want people to think that I believe everybody is a criminal. There's attorneys that I worked with that I don't think are criminal. In particular, one attorney with the initial CDD. I believe that this attorney has experience with autistic people, which is why he didn't fuck around with me. And if he doesn't, he's just a good attorney. He should receive any award out there that he's due, because I feel like attorneys are required to live up to a certain code, even defense attorneys, and there's a way to go about it. And this attorney did their best job to make sure they were not the problem. That's one attorney. I've worked for other law firms, and I can name other attorneys that were similar. Rebecca Weinrich, when I worked at Lewis Brisbois, was very much a stickler for making sure her shit got paid. Nobody goes through that much effort to make sure their shit gets paid unless they've already experienced shit at the hands of people who may be known to be criminals. So when I worked with her, I did my best to make sure she got every dollar she was owed. Up until the point where like work switched around. When I was at Lewis Brisbois, right before I was wrongfully terminated, they assigned, and I noticed it, and I called them on it, and they just said, don't worry about it. They assigned 4,000 matters to me that I believe are related to like criminal shit. 4,000 matters to me that were closed with bad accounts out of the Sahara, Las Vegas office. I can't say. There are attorneys who are able to get shit done, and there's one attorney in that office who was, I want to say 50-50. I can't say if they're good or bad, because under their watch a lot of shit didn't get done correctly, but they were responsive. So, like for example, there is a client that starts with the Edgewick that when I would send emails regarding AR invoices, I would get like trail upon trail upon trail of forwarded emails. So I would send one email and it would get forwarded like 3 times. Like, this person's out of office. You're out of office, got forwarded, bounced back, out of office, no longer here, retired, out of office. So some of those accounts, it was impossible to get a hold of a person in order to get them to pay them. I've never seen companies with 3 years of AR on the books. You have 3 years. You go back 3 years of big money that's owed to you. 3 years of advance payments on your fucking shit that you're not returning for like 100,000. Oh, no. That's a different company. We don't have to talk about them. That was a much better company. And if they are, I would find it very hard during my time at Jones Day under the manager that I had, not Jody, under Mario. Mario was, I believe he was Japanese, and his numbers always added up. So you could not ever blame him for a crime. I enjoyed working with Mario. I enjoyed when we used to get in checks where they couldn't allocate them. I loved being able to find out how the payment was supposed to be broken down. And that's the closest that I would ever get to check payments. I don't want access to that information. I have a juvenile history that makes me having access to that information look criminal just looking at it. So that's why I've always taken billing positions, not accounting positions. So when I was hired in a temporary position as a biller and then forced into accounts receivable because they conveniently fired a permanent employee, but then they paid a temp agency $65 an hour and they wouldn't pay me $45. So after 3 months, $65 an hour, it's whatever. After 3 months, I only had 1 month in the accounts receivable position. I think that they thought within that month they were going to be able to break me down. they couldn't break me down in that month. So my employment at that firm continued for another 3 months beyond what it should have. Right? I was expecting temporary position for a month, and I was going to be able to go back and look for a regular permanent job. They held me there, maybe until they found the next person to take over, maybe until they committed all the crimes that they needed to commit. But I have a feeling the current RICO complaint is not going to be the only one if some of their clients start finding out that money's being taken from them. I have to say this. I have to say this because I remember doing accounting breakdowns for one particular client who was very wealthy, and the person that I worked with, the person who trained me while I was at that company, somehow found a way to make sure the numbers never added up. He said, "Well, I just want to explain to them this, and this, and I want to leave out the part that where we applied this. It's like to the tune of $20,000, something like that. Like, don't, you know, we had a retainer for 20K and stuff like that. But I accounted for everything fully, and then I was told, well, this is too confusing. The client's not going to want to see that. Could you make it more simple?" And that to me felt like a cover up for money not going to where it should be. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe everything got done, allocated correctly. But I feel like month after month after month, at least 3 months of like, wow, how come they still can't get the payments right? When we're sending them exactly what we need them to pay us, we get some random funky ass paycheck number. I can't wait to see all of this come out in the wash. I am posting these videos because I hope I'm able to be here in order to see it come out in the wash. Right now, more on my situation. They want me to feel like I have no one, but I'm looking at them. If you have to join a gang, you truly have no one. You had to join a gang. So even if they are successful at making me homeless, I'm never going to ask my sister. She wants me to turn to her and ask her for help. Why? She's an abuser. I will take the L. I will take a homelessness. I will take a jail sentence any day over resorting to my sister for support. Somebody who has stolen from me when I was a kid, that is supposed to take care of me, I'm not going to them for support. One of the most offensive things that she did was allow me to find 13 pairs of my jeans, pants. Maybe it was 21 pairs. It was like some ridiculous number. So much so I didn't notice. One is, during that time, that was like when I was 15 years old and I was doing shoplifting. But let's talk about shoplifting, because another part of it is trafficking. I did not have a means to get to places to shoplift unless I was going to like take a dial-a ride or a bus there, and I didn't. The only times I got caught shoplifting was when my white girlfriends drove me to the mall, and it was like planned. So of my own will, I would not do that. Of my own will, I'm going to sit at home and find something I can craft or create, or not bother people, not harm people. So it's not I don't have to keep clearing my name. You can follow me around forever. And that's why it has to turn into, well, we have to kill her now. She knows too much. But you've been wanting me to know this the whole time, so I really don't understand what this is. I really don't understand what this is. I kind of understand what it is. It sounds like to me, wealthy people don't have enough money, so they are taking money from other wealthy people, hoping that they'll never see it. So like during my time at Weinstock Mannion, you can very easily tell. So when you deal, I never wanted to go to trust and estates. It's not something that's very interesting to me, per se, as far as like the law. They don't do e-billing. It's not a fun place for me to be because I like e-billing. So I was waiting. I couldn't wait. I was thinking the assignment was going to be over. It's not over. It's not over. It's not over yet. I want to go find a real job. And then they didn't pay me for Martin Luther King Day. And that was like when I was like, I have to go find a new job. So what was I just going to say? if you work at a trust and estate firm and you send bills to people with past due balances on them, some people are not really good at reading the bills. And this particular billing format, I've come across other places that use it. It makes people who are not paying attention, or like at least in my position now, there's a lot of approvals that are required. There's this transparency. I think it's hard unless you're trying really hard to be fraudulent with things. But and it happens because I've watched some of these cities go down. You see like certain parts of the city, they go down for fraud. And it may be related to this. When you see people retire early, I always think, yeah, they're about to get caught. So what is it? What was I going to say? In this position, when you're sending, because I did billing and accounts payable and receivable, when you are sending bills out to people with past due balances and somebody posts the payment after you send it out, the client is going to get a bill that says they owe more than what they owe. And some clients, if they're handling their own stuff and they're older, some people just have enough money to just pay whatever the bill says. So I have a journal of like every time I had to return a check, because I knew that this was a bigger plan on my life, a bigger plan on criminalities and stuff. So I had to make note of every time I received a check that I had to hold in the drawer, every time I had to send a check back, every time I had a funny check. There was a check that a client signed, but they signed it on a Post-it. Or they put the amount. They wrote the amount of the check on a Post-it that could be removed. So basically they sent us a blank check. It took like over a month, I want to say, for that check to get corrected, while they waited for them to be able to watch me crash out. While they waited, while they had this team of people follow me around Century City. Every day I went to go to lunch. Every day I went to the mall. Every day I went to the Lego store. Every day I walked anywhere. They waited for me to crash out on these people that were following me. I started taking pictures of them like, what are you doing? I don't know you from this, that, or the other, but you appear to be at every single lunch break that I take, like, irregardless of what time it's at. If you're thinking that you're going to drive me crazy, I'm just going to write about this in my journal so that I can come back to it later on once I get the bigger picture. So counting how many months they've been waiting, and then before they're able to, I don't know if they're able to commit crimes in my name or do whatever to me, but before they're able to make me carless, jobless, homeless, I discovered the RICO complaint. How I discovered it? I discovered it because I was looking for jobs, because I had decided, fuck, they didn't pay me for Martin Luther King Day. I can't stay here. I'll never take another fucking temp job. And when they did that, that's what prompted me to look for jobs. And I started, based on the fact that I didn't get paid for Martin Luther King Day, I started to type fraud in. So any company that I would interview at, I would type in the company name and fraud to see, like, if I'm going on an interview, I want to see who I'm meeting up with. So when I went to Ellis George and I typed in fraud before I went on that interview. And it showed me a case of bad billing, an attorney who I believe overinflated his bills. And that's the attorney who keeps looking at my profile. I'll use that as my thumbnail for this video, so you can see that I'm not just talking shit. If you want to come checking my profile, you know that I get notifications from LinkedIn that asks me if I know you. Those are the funniest ones when I see people, like I saw somebody from Rose and Saba who I didn't work with, but I worked at that company, and it's asking me if I know them. Maybe they're curious on LinkedIn. Maybe they're trying to see where I work now. You're not going to. So I'm going to post this thumbnail now and proceed with my day. Have a great